But Chuck, Orlando Pirates are back in the Champions League proper in the group stages. My question around them would be, what would be a fair result in their journey on the continent this season?
A fair result, I think. It's another cup, isn't it? So at least
yes, it is. These are cup specialists.
Yeah, so at least go deep. But I think, man, this is different. This is different gravy. I mean, it's a matter of. It's not even just a matter of teams are bigger or they're stronger or they've got more prestige. It's different kinds of football that you're playing against, different footballing styles and philosophies. Versus, I think, a PSL, we can say largely there's a general idea of play. Yes, there may be tweaks, lapuna lapo, but we've got a similar profile of player who play for us. We have a similar type of style in terms of speed and the tactics that we roll out. So Pirates know what to expect largely for most teams week in, week out. It's just a matter of then making sure that your tactics trump the other team. And Africa's a different kettle of fish and he's traveling as well. So I think it's going to be tough. I think if they get out of the group stages, I'd be happy with that. But also let's look at the draw, right? If we draw teams that are very, very strong, then next out of the group stages, qualifying would be good. But if they're close to us in terms of their strength, then I want a bit more. So I think as much as Stellies in Champions League, for me, I'd want us to qualify out of the groups.
We're not going to know whether the teams are close to Orlando Pirates in terms of quality until they play them on the continent, right? Because, and this is what Mangobo was talking about, that the way that they went about preparing in preseason, they selected opponents who are going to come at them because that's the experience they're going to have on the continent. Whereas mostly in the PSL, teams respect Sundowns and they play in a low block, so they have to find their preparations some other way. So Orlando Pirates, who up to this point and for the longest time have been playing only PSL opposition until now, where they are in the group stages of the CAF Champions League, we're not going to know how truly good they are until they come across those teams that have made a sojourn into this competition on a regular basis. We saw Yanga against Kaizer Chiefs, although Chiefs, that was early in Nabi's tenure, and I don't think he was even here at that And it's preseason, yes, and there were a whole lot of mistakes, but Yanga seemed like a different quality, and those are the type of teams you're going to come across, and these are teams who are expected to make it to the quarterfinals because they've been there and they've done it before. So there's a whole lot of experience that is required to do well on the continent, because you mentioned like traveling, you have to take that into accommodation. You have to figure out how to periodize your training, how to go about separating your squads or giving enough game time and not running your players to the ground. You have to consider how long travel takes, how long it's going to take from you to get from here to there and back again. When are you playing again? Where are you playing? So it's not as simple as, it's a good team, it's in the Champions League, they're going to do well. But having said that, they have to get out of the group stages. I don't care who's in the group stages with them, because there's been investment with the London Pirates. We constantly say they've got the second deepest team behind Mamelodi Sundowns in the PSL. And again, it's going to be full on discovered when they get onto the continent. But you would think, based on what you've seen and if you've watched Champions League before, that it's comparable in terms of what they have in their ranks and what other teams on the continent have. So for me, I think the expectation is too high if you are thinking they should win it or even get to a semi-final. I think for the first time under this coach who's been there now for 3 seasons, and he's got success behind him to get to the quarterfinals, because for me this season is going to be a whole lot about gathering data, because Pirates are a team who should absolutely also view themselves as a side and an institution that should be winning a Champions League and adding a second star. But I think that's a journey to get there. You might have a good draw. Things might turn your way. Kaizer Chiefs made it all the way to the final unexpectedly. That can happen, but that is not likely. But as a team who have ideas of being in this position continuously, I think there's a lot of data that needs to be collected this season, but it cannot just be that. In doing so, they absolutely have to play their best football on the continent. And the question we're gonna have is, can they juggle that schedule? But I think they're good enough to get out of the group and get to the quarterfinals at least, and then from there, I think everything is gravy.
Quick question on Stellies. They didn't start the league campaign well. They lost their first game. But after that assessment of Pirates and Sundowns, where do we think Stellies will go in the Confed? Do we expect them to go deep, because they are a fairly good South African side who are not playing Champions League level opposition? Is the expectation that they go deep, or also the unknown of African travel and opponents that they haven't met yet will get in their way?
I think it's similar for me. Similar quarterfinals as well. Because Stellies, yeah, they adapt, man. Like they whatever, and they are on a upward trajectory every single season. You see them, even with the loss in the league that first game, and we'll see if playing on the continent in those prelim rounds had something to do with that. I had something to have a look at. Is it going to affect them? But they have made some signings, even though they've lost some players. They've got the 2 players from Cape Town City who apparently were in the market to sell to Stellies, but not to Kaizer Chiefs. So that's an interesting one. But yeah, Chuck, I think they're well coached, they're well run. I think they've done, I would imagine they've done the research, but again, you can do your research all you want. Until you have the experience, you won't know exactly what that looks like. But I think they're good enough, and they've shown enough that they keep improving, that they're going to do well enough. But then there is also the matter of the unknown that might stand in their way. So I think quarterfinals for me is my expectations for Stellies.